the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So we've got a great meeting for you tonight. We've got some candidates from the city as well as the county and some New York State Supreme Court judges here to speak with you guys. This is a candidate forum. It's a meet and greet, so it's not a debate. You guys are going to have the opportunity to ask a couple of questions, but we really are just here to learn a little bit about the candidates and see what their platforms are. And again, a lot of these folks are going to be generous enough to be here a little bit after the meeting, so if you have some additional questions, feel free to engage with them after the meeting. How's that sound for everybody? I'm going to need a little more energy. Come on. How's that sound? There we go. All right. Thank you. All right. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Gina. She's going to go through our normal agenda for tonight. We're going to take a 5-minute intermission, and then we're going to run right through the candidate forum.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Again, just a reminder that we do have refreshments and cookies on the back table, so please help yourselves. Also, if you notice, there are index cards and pencils on your table. If you have any last-minute questions that you want to write down for any of the candidates, please do so now, and we'll come around in a few moments to pick up those cards. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have Joe Beatrice give us an update.
Hello, everyone. You're ready to vote today.
Good.
Thanks for coming, like you guys do all the time. Appreciate your support. I'm going to be very short. We have a lot more important stuff going on than what I have to say. Just a couple of things I'm working on. Number one, I know we had a form here from the state last week, Route 31 exchange. There was 7 or 8 or 10 different options. Just a couple of things from that. I have a meeting scheduled with the state, with our local police. It's not scheduled yet, but it's coming on. Those, just so you guys know, those scenarios, those are years away. They're options. And the reason they're there is so down the road, when they're getting the funding, they can say they've gone every way, came up with every scenario to try to solve different solutions. I have an idea that would be very simple. It wouldn't eliminate our problem. It would help our problem out. And I'm going to talk to them about it, and hopefully it can get done. You see me on TV the other night, you see what it was. I just want to see, in the meantime, we all know that Herkimer Road is State Route 5. We can't limit the trucks from it. However, what we can do is if we come up 790, our bigger trucks, we can make no left turn onto Leland Ave. We can make them make a right turn, come out down by Babe's and Dunkin' Donuts. By the time they get to that intersection, especially in the trucks that are not from around here, their GPS is going to pick it up and probably send them to 5S, okay? If they don't and are adamant on going on Herkimer Road, they go back down, take a right in front of Price Chopper, and you're going straight down Herkimer Road. You're not causing all the chaos on that intersection. So that's just something that we could do with 2 or 3 signs and a little police enforcement if they go along with it. So been a problem since I've been here. It's probably been a problem long before. I've been here my whole life, but it's always been a problem. It's been a problem since they put 790 onto Leland Ave and never finished the project when it was supposed to go down and it was supposed to exit off past Dominican. So, and obviously that was one of their scenarios, but that's the most expensive scenario, and I don't think that's ever going to happen right now. That's actually, they even said that. So the other thing I'll talk about quick is there's been a lot on this bus route changing on in North Utica over on Woodhaven, Rockhaven. So what I have at our next council meeting, I have the head of the Centro coming to, and I have all the data to tell us why they made that change. The bus route goes from Riverside Mall up to Mulaney Road, comes down by SUNY, and it was coming down from Seymour down Woodhaven. Okay, the biggest problem they have in that area there is the bus making time. Okay, so when I have the data, shows that less than 3 people a day use that bus. On top of it, we had a neighbor complain vigorously about didn't want this bus there. That was only on the Cape, so they changed that route. You have to walk. The farthest point to pick the bus up is 15 minutes. It's I think it's 0.7 miles if you're on the bottom of Lorraine Ave. So I did some research where I live. I live on Reels Drive, and if I didn't have a car and needed to take a bus, I have to walk from my house to the corner of Road and like by Fast Track there. That's a little bit farther. So my point is, unfortunately, every time there's a change, now there's one person who has been very adamant about this, and I've been in discussions with him, and I understand at this point he works nights, and he might have been that one person taking the bus, but there's reasons that they made that change, and I just want to make sure everybody knows why they're making the change and why they did it. And I have the data, and I'm going to bring the gentleman to the Common Council meeting, and so anybody can ask him any other questions. Other than that, I want to wish everybody out here. I know I ran in 2019. I've been lucky enough. I've really never had an opponent after that. But these gentlemen and ladies, takes a lot of nerve to run for office, and it's a lot of work. And, you know, just please go out and vote and support everybody. And I wish everybody good luck. And if anybody's got a question, I'll take it for you. If not, save your time for the candidates. Thank you. You guys have a great night.
Then first is Mr. Joe Beatrice, the Ward 6 Common Council.
Okay, up next we have County Legislator for the 23rd District, Mike Gentile, to give an update.
And Vicki? That's his name.
Yeah, so the budget's come out. We've been working extremely hard to look at it, look where we can save some money on it. For the first time in a while, there's a little bit of increase on the county side, but you know, we're doing our due diligence. Rick is the head of the Ways and Means, so he's been chairing the budget hearings and such. So there's a few areas where I think that we can hope to cut that aren't going to affect services too much. So that's something we're going to look at and make sure that we do our best with that. But nothing's off the table here. The other thing too is, I mean, obviously, if there's anybody that stood in front of this group and talked about tax increases, it's been me, because we've had it on the city end. But we also have to look at one of the things that we said was, when we got to the city, we had to do big numbers to catch up. Well, at the county level, we're trying to avoid that. So we're looking at long-term plans of what it looks like 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, et cetera. So everything's on the table, and we're going to see what we can do. The other thing too is it was a big topic. It's been a big topic. Leland Ave. Since the last meeting, we've had more conversations with state DOT, with county officials. That's something that's realistic for a 2026 redo. It won't happen before winter, but certainly the DOT, everybody understands that that's going to be a main thoroughfare, even more than it already is, going into the next cycle, especially with all the stuff they're doing on North Genesee Street. Councilman Beatrice also mentioned about making people have to take that right turn off of it, trucks and stuff. So that's something that we can also look into, because that's a big, going to save a lot from the Herkimer Road. One more thing, just on the city end, the governor finally did pass the pet tax legislation. So now the council needs to put it into local law. So that'll be coming in the next council cycle, but that's going to be a good little revenue boost for to save on the city budget as well. So I'll pass it over to Mr. Sliznick. I will mention again, we have already agreed that he is going to always take my calls to talk budget. He's been around a very long time. When I was elected, he was the first person to call me, went to breakfast and talk budget. So he's always been available. He's fiscally responsible. He's always pushed you, look where we can cut and be responsible. So he's really somebody I lean on for that. And we're gonna miss him, but I'm gonna keep using him.
Mike, thank you very much. Candidates, obviously welcome. Thank you for running. It's a difficult job putting your name out there. But not only did you put your name out there, you put your families out there. Politics has gotten so nasty in the last 10 years that people are looking to dig anything they can to embarrass candidates and their families. So thank you for running. It is appreciated. Let's talk budget. This is my last year, 22nd budget. Voted for most of them, but I voted against a couple budgets. As we approach this budget, it's predictable to be bigger, and it is. It's $560 million. I apologize. I have a cough drop because I'm fighting a cold, and I don't want to start coughing in front of you. So it's $560 million, increased by about $11.5 million. This will be the first increase proposed by the county executive in 13 years. Actually, 13 years ago, our legislative body reduced taxes by 1.5%. But we've had a flat tax levy for 12 years, and as I attempted to explain last month, we have 28 jurisdictions, 2 cities, 26 towns, based on equalization rate, which is very, very complicated. When you see that tax warrant and what you pay, it might be a little above or it might be below what had been proposed as the general increase. What do I mean by that? Based on equalization, based on the tax warrant with MVCC, that will dictate what your municipality, specifically Utica, will pay. Out of the 28 municipalities with the proposed budget, 10 will go down slightly, and the 18 will go up. A couple are going up, not Utica, 6 to 8%, which is pretty concerning if you live in those municipalities. Utica right now, proposal is 1%. 1%. But the budget is not a done deal. We as legislators, it's our responsibility to get in there, offer amendments. Hi, Phil. Offer amendments in what we feel is best interest of our constituents. With a budget of $560 million, to get to a 0% property tax increase, we have to cut $1.9 million. A lot of money, but in a budget of $560 million, it's 1/3 of 1%. I hope to get there. I hope to get the support with fellow legislators to slice $1.9 million to get to the zero property tax increase. Overall levy would probably mean for Utica residents a very slight decrease. That's my hope. I will make proposals, but you have to convince your colleagues to support you. And if somebody does not support me, it doesn't mean they don't believe in standing up for citizens, constituents, or Rick Fliznick's amendment. They just disagree and feel we need to look maybe a little bit more proactive in the future.
And Rick,
Yeah.
just for a point of clarity, we've actually seen in years that the city of Utica has seen their bump in taxes 0%.
And you have, and a gentleman was here last month and said, what are you talking about? My taxes were raised 4 or 5 years ago, 6-7%. And again, equalization and additions to the tax warrant, which is MVCC. Kind of digressing, but there's important items. I understand the complication with the county executive with his budget. We rely on about $170 million of reimbursements from state and federal government. as we all know, there is a strong possibility going forward, especially next year in 2027, in a reduction in our reimbursements. And Dick, you asked me about how it's going to be affected. Medicaid, right now, we're concerned with. We're still budgeting 57 million, but you need to understand, out of 50 states, there's only 2 states, one being New York, where a good portion of that cost is passed on to who? Local taxpayers, through the county. You had a great question. You also asked about reimbursements. Reimbursements, we know in SNAP, we know instead of a 50-50 split with the state, it's going to change in the next year to 75 county percent and 25% state. You know what that's going to cost us going into 2020? $2 million extra local county dollars. So you raise a great question that I don't still have the answer, but it's good. So when the county executive says, we got to be very careful, I need the 2 point, I understand where he's coming from. He's being proactive, really concerned, especially with 2027. As you know, you do a budget not for 1 year, you kind of project out. But again, the way I look at it is that kind of budget, we can find 1.9 million. We have a surplus of 78 million, a budget of 560 million. Our policy indicates 5 to 10%, not the greatest with math. 10% of 560 is 56 million. We got 78. We subtract 13 for special projects. We're still good. Agreed? Agreed? Any debate? So if I offered amendment, would you agree with me?
Down to 0.
Well, I'm trying. But it's challenging. And again, people disagree for different reasons, but hopefully we'll have an amendment that's supported and we can get it down to, obviously get it down to 0. All right. Concerns, just a couple other concerns. Flood mitigation is not in the budget. We funded $8 million in flood mitigation throughout the county. Our homeless is an issue. 4 years ago, we spent under $1 million. This year projection is $8 million for homeless. $8 million. It's a crisis. We get some revenue back or funding back from the state and federal, but I'm telling you, state and federal government is pretty chaotic and disarray, and unfortunately, the cities, villages, towns, and counties might have to pay the piper. Question? Yeah.
Richard, we spent, the last 2 years, we've had some pretty catastrophic storms coming to the area. And according to some sources, this is going to be more frequent, whether what your belief on it is or not. But they are happening, and they are happening more frequently. Watching the weather this morning, we've had more Category 5 hurricanes this year than we've had in the last 50 some odd years. So my question is, are we setting aside emergency funds based on that?
Part of the 78 million we have set aside right now, considered our surplus. One of the restricted surplus accounts is emergency services for $2 million. But you're absolutely right. In the last 3 years, we've had, last 2 years, 2 devastating tornadoes, and the county has stepped forward in Kirkland to help those people out, which was the right thing to do. And we helped out with the city of Rome, the people that were devastated in Rome. Great question. We do have a surplus. We still can cut 1 point. Okay? Anybody else?
Yes.
Correct.
But all the things you just mentioned, the state, the government, I think the proposed budget is very appropriate. If we had to our plus with all of the unknowns, better to have slight increases every year and have to back next year and say, well, we held it at 0 and we're going to have to do a 3 or 4% increase. So just from my perspective, with no increase for so many years, I think it's very appropriate.
Have you been talking to the county executive?
No.
Okay. You make a great point.
I've done budgeting and
You make a great point. And that's
better be I just think to cut things that close in the times that we're in. So, what's the worst that can happen? The surplus will grow.
I guess the way I look at it is there's enough. Surplus has grown from when I first started, not a lot of money, 20, 30 million, up to 91, now it's 78. I still think there's enough there. And the way I approach it, it's not my money, it's not the county's money, it's the people's money. And there's people in society living paycheck to paycheck. So when they see their government, their local government, for the right reasons, having a huge surplus and they're just getting by, any help you can give them, I think is appreciated, because we know school tax going up, my town tax went up, is going up. We're getting hit with everything from every which way, so I kind of approach it differently, and again, I think we have enough money there to find the 1.9. I respect it too.
So I totally agree with you, but next year, we're really gonna have to dig in.
Maybe,
So,
maybe
well,
not,
very, very possible.
maybe, it could be.
It's very unlikely costing.
But the only thing I will say on that, I've been around 22 years, and there's been other occasions where we've had high surpluses, and I was told doomsday is around the corner, get ready, we can't cut taxes a little, and didn't get support on amendments, and it didn't happen. So the less, we have to have a certain fund balance to go out to bonding for favorable rates, but the less money government politicians have, the better. I think we have to be lean and mean to a certain extent so we don't give away what we deem as politicians as extra money. It's not our money. It's your money. It's my money. Right? That's my philosophy. I'm very conservative, as you can see.
2 points of view.
2 points, and I respect yours.
Thank you.
Yes. You're going to be blessed. Next year, you're going to have a younger, better-looking legislator representing 6-1. As you know, with the 8th district, it comprises what I represent, the town of Marcy, village of Yorkville, Whitesboro, and just this little sliver of North Utica, which I've enjoyed coming to these meetings. But next year, your new representative, because she does not have an opponent, lucky you, is Victoria Celia. She wants to say a few words, and if you give her a warm welcome.
Well, I have been attending some of your meetings to get a feel for it, but I first would like to thank Rick Lisnick.
We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I do have a large, loud voice, so I would like to give a big thank you to Rick Lisnick, because I have to tell you, I have very large shoes to fill. Because I've been running unopposed, I have been fortunate to go to the Ways and Means Committee, the caucus meetings, and the board meetings over the last couple months. So I'm kind of ahead of the game in terms of I do not have an opponent, so I've been able to attend these meetings and get an idea of how the meetings are run and try and get ahead of the game. I'm hoping it's going to be very exciting. I know about the budget increase. I'm hoping I'll be able to put some input in there so that we do not see large tax increases. So my background is I was born in Utica. I live in Mercy. I've lived in Mercy over 25 years. I'm a certified public accountant with a master's in taxation, along with holding other certifications. Do you have any questions for me? Well, then get out and vote. But this man over here needs a big round of applause. He is amazing. And thank you. I do have some signs back there if anybody would like to take a sign. And you will be seeing me at the meetings periodically. So thank you again.
All right, just a quick reminder about the meeting next month. It'll be on November 24th, and our guest speakers are going to be a representative from Utica Assessor's Office discussing the New York State STAR program. And then we also have from the Oneida County Market, Manager Beth Iron. It's going to be our next month's meeting, and it is the week of Thanksgiving. It's the Monday, the same week of Thanksgiving. And at this point, we're gonna just take a 5-minute pause. If anybody wrote down any questions on their index cards, just raise your hand and we'll come around and get them, and then we'll start our meet and greet. Thank you.
Yep, during this time, use the bathroom, grab some raffle tickets, we'll take about 5 minutes, we'll stage the first cadre of candidates, and then when we come back in, we'll get started with the candidate meeting.
I missed you, man. What's in the mail? I gotta miss you.
It was like a little clock.
No,
Yeah.
they can see it. I thought it was your probably. Are you gonna see it?
So they
Don't see it at all? All right, I'll give it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. Keep it in a good luck charm. So yeah, that's what we know. I wasn't sure if you're wearing. I'm not there back my dog. Worst case, they're with the sounds. Power plant. I'm sure that town will ride around. So I'm gonna stop it.
That's that friend's phone number. You want to take it down?
Yeah.
You give him a call?
If not, I'll give it to Joe.
It's Frank's. This is fine.
Okay.
It's 315
Yep.
725 4802. Because he's with Michael and his son all the time.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There you go. Oh, yeah. It's all right. I know, everybody's nice showing her. Yeah, please.
All right, folks, if you could grab your seats really quick, we're going to have our first slate of candidates come up. It's going to be for the Utica County 23rd Legislative District. Perfect. You guys just grab your seats. I just want to remind you, please silence your cell phone so we don't interrupt anybody mid-pod here. Again, if you need to use the bathroom, just excuse yourself to the back of the room. Try to be as quiet as possible. So, like I said, we're going to start with our cadre candidates for the 23rd Legislative District. We have Mr. Michael Gentile. We have Mr. Tony Leone. I'm going to give them an opportunity to introduce himself for 2 minutes. We're going to field a couple of questions from the audience, and then they're going to have a couple moments at the very end to do a closing. Again, this is not a debate. It's simply a forum. They're here to provide you some information, give you some background to help you make an informed decision come election day. Okay. Either one of you want to start?
Weird when I was up here a couple minutes ago. Michael Gentile, County Legislator, 23rd District, representing all but the sliver that Rick Lisnick talked about in the little East Utica. My whole life, I've given back to this community. It's what I do. I don't say no very often, but I especially don't say no when somebody needs it. I've been able to use that as my time as a county legislator and elevate that voice and be able to take care of the things that you guys need more, as much as possible. Leland Ave is one of those things. Looking at that county budget, the county budget's going to be over $500 million, no matter how much Rick Lisnick gets rid of it, and it's about bringing those resources to Utica. Okay, it's about making sure that we're getting our fair share of resources. We don't have county roads that we're taking care of. We don't have much county infrastructure that we're taking care of, but we do have things that matter to you. Okay, the shot spotter technology that improve public safety in Utica. Getting the county to fund 2 of our mental health officers in UPD that improves our quality of life. Everything that I do, whether it's my professional career, my personal life, or my time as a county legislator, is to give back to this community that I care about, and that's why I'm here, that's why I'm asking for your vote, and that's why I believe I should be here.
Thank you very much. My name is Tony Leone. Most of you know me. I've been around quite some time. My career in politics is I raised a family in Yorkville. I was on the village board in Yorkville for 25 years. 6 of those years I was mayor. We had budgets every year in Yorkville, so I do have a lot of budgetary experience. 6 years ago, I ran for county legislator here in the 23rd District, and I was fortunate to stay in that seat for 4 years. And one of my qualities, I think, is I can relate to everybody and I can get along with everybody. And I think it's very important, no matter what you do, if you can't get along with your rest of your board members, that it's very difficult to get anything done. But I have a lot of experience in government, a lot of experience with budgets. I do believe in trying to keep taxes down as much as possible, whether it's a city tax or a county tax. But I just like you to know that I'm looking for your support, and anything, I will attend to any of your needs. Whenever I get phone calls, I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And I'm available all the time. My cell phone, my emails, on my pen cards, and I hope I get your support on election day. Thank you.
Great. Well, we have a couple questions here, and what we'll do is we'll alternate since Mr. Gentile started. We'll have Mr. Leone start with the questions, if that's all right with you guys. So, one question here is related to the county tax increase and kind of what your thoughts and philosophy are on that. But again, 1 minute response, please, if you could, and then we'll jump on to the next question.
As I said earlier, I'd like to keep taxes down as much as possible. I haven't had a chance to look at the budget because I'm not on the board right now, but my philosophy with taxes is to keep them as close as possible to zero. I'm not sure why we have a 2.9% tax increase. I'm not sure if that 78 million is a reserve fund or if it's just an emergency fund. But my viewpoint on tax is to keep it as low as possible, but I want to make sure that we maintain the quality of services that we have. Your return on your local tax dollars is any tax dollars that you pay, you get more return on local tax dollars than anything else, state or federal. So your local tax dollars come back and help you with a lot of different items that you're used to every year. But I'd like to keep the taxes down as much as possible. That's my viewpoint. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously, it's easy to stand up here and say, let's do 0% for the rest of our lives, we'll never raise taxes, and everything's gonna be perfect. But we can't. We have to be responsible. We have to make sure that we are investing in the quality of life services that we care about and that are important. I'll go back to what I said. The budget's gonna be over 500 million. We're not gonna cut 60 million out of it. So it's about fighting for the resources to come back to you. If we're getting our fair share out of that budget and there's a little bit of a tax increase, we can understand that. It's when we don't have the right representation and we're not getting the dollars back to us, right? There's a lot of public safety, there's a lot of jobs, there's a lot of social services within that budget. We need to make sure that we are hitting that. It affects Utica. When we talk about the investment into the homeless situation, when we talk about the investment into our infrastructure, all of those things are important, and somebody has to fit the bill. So if we're going to have a budget over $500 million, we need to make sure that we're getting our fair share of that. But, as we talked about earlier, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that every dollar is reasonably spent, that we're not being irresponsible with our dollars, and if we can trim back that increase, then we're going to do it.
Okay, we have another question here related to public safety. It says, what safety measures are being placed in the case of a federal/state shutdown? And again, relative to the budget, the different state and federal contributions that come to the county. Mr. Gentile, if you want to answer this first.
It's something obviously we're talking about what the federal dollars are and how it's going to affect us. I think a lot of the reason, or that is a lot of the reason, the county executive has said, we have to be even more cautious than we typically are. So we're looking at that. We are fortunate enough to have reserves. We're fortunate enough to have some money in the bank so we can work towards covering that. It's very important. It's difficult. We look at all the things that are coming our way. We look at all the payments that we're already seeing payments not getting to the city and the county like we're supposed to. we need to have that reserve, and we need to make sure that we're proactive. I will tell you that between our public safety departments, they are well equipped, and they're well equipped beyond what that funding is gonna look like. But we have to work with every representative we have to work with our federal representatives, our state representatives, and we can't leave anything at the county and local level overlooked, because it's extremely important to make sure we're proactive. And if we advocate appropriately, if we make sure that we're a mouthpiece for the community and our public safety, that's how we're gonna be able to get beyond that. Thank you.
Public safety is very important. No matter what, we need to always fund our public safety, whether it's the local police department, the county sheriff's department. The monies that we get from the state and the federal government, they may be slow coming in right now because the federal government is shut down, but it's gonna end soon. Eventually, it has to. But I'm always a proponent of public safety, no matter what, whether it's police, fire. I'll always back public safety. It's very important to our community and to everybody. Thank you.
All right, gents, just to give us the best bang for our buck here, we'll roll the last one into your closing statements, if you don't mind. It's kind of your vision for Oneida County in the next 10 years. Whatever that 10-year horizon looks like, what is the ideal vision you have for the county as a legislator? And then roll that into your closing statement. So, Mr. Leone, you can go first. Gentile follow.
It's a tough one.
I'm sorry, I sabotaged it. Push the button there.
Hold it down.
Is this part of his time?
Yeah. There you
The right channel. 10 years. I guess I got to look at my crystal ball and see what's going on in the next 10 years. But we got to keep the quality of life that we have in Oneida County as high as possible. The services that are brought to the residents of Oneida County through the county and through our taxpayers, we need to keep that level of the quality of life as high as we can do it. What do we get from the county? We get the sheriff's protection. We get the county jail. Do they affect us directly as city residents? Yes and no. But my vision of the next 10 years is to make sure the quality of life that we have, and I just think Oneida County is a great place to live. It's just, I was born and raised here, and I just think the quality of life that we have here is what's important for the next 10 years. Thank you.
I'll do one better. Let's look at 30 years. Let's look at 40 years. Let's look at 20 years. Let's look far beyond 10 years. I'm 36 years old. I'm the youngest county legislator that's currently sitting. The average age is well in its 50s and 60s. All right? When I look at this community, I'm looking at the community that I've chosen to live my life and will continue to choose to live my life here. Okay? So when we look at that, I'm going to be a part of this community in 30 years, in 40 years, and keep going. Okay? So it's important to understand that. And it's important to me that we are looking into the future and we're understanding the quality of life. We're understanding when we're making decisions today how it's going to affect us far beyond 10 years. Okay? I'm invested in this community. I'm invested in this community in every single aspect that exists. Far beyond government, far beyond anything in this realm. If I lose this election, I'm going to wake up the next day and I'm going to figure out what I can do to help this community. If I win this election, I'm going to wake up the next day and figure out what I can do to help this community. That's how I function. That's how I live my life. That's how I always will. But we need to stop looking short term. We need to look at long term. We need to look at what we are doing to set ourselves up for success 20 years, 30 years, and 40 years down the road. Thank you.
I'll just say a couple party words and then we'll finish off that one. That's it? All right, that's good. You don't have anything else? All right, folks. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Tony. Thank you, sir. I can get my own point. Good luck, gentlemen. All right. Next up, we have the Supreme Court Fifth Judicial District candidate, Elizabeth Fortino. Again, she's just going to introduce herself because there's no opposing candidate here. So you're going to be able to ask her a couple quick questions, and we look forward to hearing about your thoughts. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Snyder Fortino. I've been a practicing attorney for 24 years. I work in the court system now. I work for the appellate division. My name of my agency is Mental Hygiene Legal Service. I'm the director of that program. I oversee about 70 attorneys from Herkimer County over to Erie County. And we go into all of the mental health facilities like at Wynn Hospital, also Good Shepherd, Mohawk Valley Psychiatric Center. We go into all the correctional facilities like Midstate, Mohawk, and Mercy. We go into the nursing homes. We do end-of-life issues. We represent all the consumers and all of the group homes. Our work is very meaningful. We have mental hygiene court pretty much several times a week. Over 10 judges hear our cases in Supreme Court. I've done thousands of cases in Supreme Court. And that's why I feel like I'm perfectly situated to take on this role. As you heard earlier, mental health homelessness is increased in our budget. Also in the mental hygiene law, the governor has changed the statute to have individuals that are homeless that can be admitted to a psychiatric unit. I believe my experience in Supreme Court handling those cases is going to be critical for our community because the system will become overwhelmed when these individuals with homeless are admitted to a psychiatric unit. They get a right to a hearing that means it lands in Supreme Court. As a result, there's going to be a spike not only in admissions in the hospitals, but also in Supreme Court. And that could really shut down the system. And I'd be able to rule from the bench on those cases based on my experience of having done them for 22 years. I would understand the standard and I would be able to rule based on the evidence before me. And that will be very helpful to all the other judges in our judicial district for me to be able to take on a lot of hygiene cases. All the people represent over 10 judges that hear just our civil confinement cases. Civil confinement is those individuals that are sex offenders that after their prison sentence are confined at Central New York Psychiatric Center in Mercy. I handle the first cases in the state for those, and so I'd be more than willing to take on those cases as well as a judge. I'm so fortunate. I'm a graduate of Notre Dame High School in Utica College. I was a social studies secondary ed major there, graduated summa cum laude, and then went on to the University at Buffalo for law school. I've also was the president of the United County Bar Association, as well as the Mid-York Women's. So I'm very connected with our legal community. I think that's also an advantage when working with lawyers and settling cases and what have you. I already know. I've also been a professor. I teach for over 20 plus years at Utica College University. I teach graduate and undergraduate classes there. Along with also was the president of the Alumni Council there for many years. I'm also a professor right over here at SUNY Poly, and I've done that for 20 years. I teach in the Health Information Management Program. And I've also been a professor, and all of these I'm currently a professor at SUNY Oswego. I teach in their MBA program there. I'm also a trained mediator and arbitrator, and I'm also a certified school teacher. All of these things matter when you're running a courtroom, or in my case, overseeing 70 attorneys. I apply my skills as a teacher every day. Even on this journey of running an election, I've really applied those teaching skills. I think courtroom, I'll have the temperament along with the experience, as you've heard, having worked with the most difficult litigants, individuals with mental illness, and developmental disabilities, and civilly confined sex offenders. So worked with a lot of incarcerated individuals, and a lot of your courts litigants are of that makeup, and I think I can really understand them and hopefully put them at ease to make sure that due process happens in the courtroom and that decisions are made timely. Part of this journey, I've really tried to connect with the community. I've always been active. I've been the chairperson of the City of Utica Ethics Board for close to 10 years. I'm proud of the work that we did. I've also served on many boards. I'm on the BOCES School of Career Board, and so we do a lot of foreshadowings. It's my hope as a judge that I can continue to connect with the community and work with young people and be a positive example, and also kind of be a caretaker for our beautiful courthouse here in Oneida County, as well as the one in Rome. I think it's important to, as judges, to really make sure that those buildings preserve their history and are passed on to the next generation. When I was president, I helped with the renovations that were done at the N.U.N.A courthouse and of the beautiful courthouse that we have. During this, once again, during this campaign, I had a lot of fun events. One in particular in North Utica, my son played for the North Utica Raiders a year ago for Pop Warner. And so this year, for all the kids, with Coach DeSero and Coach Meola, they give so much of their time. And as we know, the cheerleaders did fantastic last year. And the kids, they work every night until it's dark out, like right now. And so I did an ice cream truck. And that was a fun event. I could have had, fundraisers at restaurants, but I really wanted to connect with the young people. And to see their smiles when they had their free ice cream brought me great joy. And hopefully let them know about the legal community, and hopefully they can be a lawyer as well. And one last thing, I always, every year, as I started at Legal Aid as pro bono coordinator, I run a program on WKTV in the spring called Legal Line. I've done that for 20 years, where I have 12 attorneys answer calls during the evening news. And each year, to have all the calls from criminal law to landlord neighbor disputes or estate planning. The attorneys that volunteer for me are fantastic. And we usually field about 400 calls in an hour and a half time. So my practice, like I said, people in my family, all my parents are now deceased, were attorneys, and I'm very proud. I grew up in a family where being a lawyer was a person of integrity and hardworking, 110%. And I can assure you that I'm fortunate enough for you guys to consider me for a vote, that it will certainly be invested in this community as I always have been. And I will be a positive example for the judiciary, and certainly will give back to the community, continue to do so, and also hopefully mentor young people to aspire to the practice of law and maybe go to the benches someday. So thanks for your opportunity for speaking here today.
Ask one last favor of you, Elizabeth. Could you do the 50-50 raffle drawing?
$513,047.
513047. And what's the prize tonight, Bo?
$44.
$44, Miss Janice Warden. Come on down. You win these every week. What's going on here?
It's rigged.
It's rigged. Why was her ticket red and everybody else's was blue? That's very strange. Okay, folks, we got one more round of candidates for you. It is for the City of Utica Comptroller. So if you gentlemen would be kind enough to come forward here. And again, we're going to run the same exact format, so I'll give you both a couple moments to introduce yourself, and then we'll field a couple questions from the audience. We'll do a quick summation at the very end. How's that sound? Excellent. Either one of you want to go first? Age before beauty? All right, here we go, Mike. There you go.
Thank you very much. I'm Mike Cerminaro. I got my start in politics right up here in North Utica, and I never looked back. Thank you, North Uticans, for supporting me back in the early 80s. Back then, we had problems with flooding. This facility was down on Herkimer Road, the old North Utica Senior Citizen Center, where I learned how to do public speaking. And I remember every time they stuck a microphone in my face, I got choked up. So I asked at the time a well-respected legislator by the name of Tiny Williams. I said, Mr. Williams, what can I do to improve my public speaking? He looked me directly in the eyes and he said, Michael, just be you. People of North Utica elected you. So don't try to be anything else. So through my political career, I've been known for my boldness. I've been known to tell it like it is. Whether you're a mayor from my party or a councilman from the other party, I gave you the truth. That's where I am today, right now. More than ever, the citizens of the city of Utica need the direct truth. They've been left a mess. I was asked to reconsider running for city controller by the current city controller, Bill Morehouse, who I had the pleasure to serve with for 6 years. Bill Morehouse took over from me. I served 8 years as controller. I was term limited back then. Bill said to me in so many words, Mike, this was 2 years ago, before anybody announced the run.
He says, Mike, you need to come back. Half of the office I put together anyways. The office was very comfortable the way I ran it. They looked towards me for advice and leadership. And he says, Mike, the city needs you now. Well, I said, Bill, to be quite honest with you, let's find a younger candidate. Let's find someone else that has that youth and that firepower and all that. He looked at me and he says, Mike, nobody's got more firepower than you. Mr. Morehouse told on WIBX one day that Mike Cerminaro was one of the greatest assets the city of Utica ever had. He looked back on my 40 years of experience that started right here in North Utica. I represented the people in North Utica, and you know, I didn't give you 100%, I gave you 1,000%. And you were good enough to promote me to president of the Common Council. I gave you 1,000% there. I never forgot my roots. And then Mayor Julian at the time seen what I did, and he asked me to run the DPW. Why? Because the DPW was a mess. Not only did we turn the DPW around, we made it the best DPW that the city ever seen. It was so good that Governor Pataki came down to the city of Utica when we took down Buzzards and gave us a recommendation. I stood there very proud to stand with the governor, and I never forgot my roots. And then when the city started have financial troubles again, I was asked to become city controller. It was a very, very difficult time because I had people nipping at my butt every single step of the way, but I told the truth. I was given a bill that I refused to pay because it was too much money. I was taken to court because I refused to pay that bill because I knew the taxpayers weren't getting their justice. Okay, Steve. So thank you. I'm glad to be back home, and I'll still give you 2,000.
That's very nice. Hello, everybody. My name is Frank Meola, and I want to be your city controller. Let me tell you why. In the past, probably 20 budgets, maybe more, I was always there cutting it down in size where we can digest some of the costs that we're seeing right now. Spending many hours working on a recovery, financial recovery plan when things were really bad back in 2012. Put together plans that didn't go to your pockets, that we use the city money to make more money for you. That's what I'm doing. If I'm fortunate enough to be your controller, I'm not going to go to you when there's money needed. It's your last resort. I'm going to work with what I have in the budget. That's the most important way to do business. There's millions and millions of dollars. If you know how to spend it, if you know how to invest it, and if you know how to make it work for you. For example, back in, I think, 2013, we were looking for to go self-insurance on our, okay? That was going to save us a ton of money. And we're looking like hundreds of thousands of dollars. But we didn't have the money. We needed $3 million to start with. How are we going to get $3 million when we don't have too much in our coffers? So what we did was we looked at other avenues. There's what they call recurring accounts. Accounts that
Speaking to the microphone.
I'm sorry, you guys didn't hear me. Accounts that need to be only replenished at the end of the year. So we discontinued 2 accounts. This is how we actually did it. Okay. Tax stabilization account and contingency account. We took out the regulations, the council took out the regulations. We were able to make $3 million to start your healthcare. Now with that started, you ended up with $850,000 of savings your first year. That's what I do. That's what I do if that's what I will be doing if I'm working up to be your controller. Working on the inside, making things change. There's more in my portfolio. You can see my bag is a little heavy, but I have expense cutters in there and revenue generators. This is what I enjoy to do. I like to look for things that we can do with your money to make you money to pay more bills. That's the way, if I'm fortunate enough to be your controller, that's the knowledge I like to share in the administration part of government, the administrative, with the mayor, with the council, to show them that we don't have to go all the time to the taxpayers. Just like Mr. Sizek said, he's gonna do the best he could to cut it down to zero. He's looking out for you, all of us, sir. We know everything's going up. Everything's going up. No matter what we do, even groceries and everything. Can I get some of that? 3 seconds. 3 seconds. We know everything's going up, guys. That's the way I like to do business. That's the way I like to invest your money. Invest your money in your future. Ladies and gentlemen, we work very hard for our money. It's time to make it work for us in city government now. Thank you.
So the first question is, as the city comptroller, you are going to have the oversight of the city's financial operations, including accounting, auditing, treasury management. And of course, the question is, do you think it's as important to audit the city agencies to find efficiencies, kind of leading into almost what Mr. Meola was talking about? We'll start with Mike.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, one of the primary functions of the city controller's office, as stated in the city charter, is that we are the auditor of the books. We do one hell of a job. We audit our monies every single day. Every single bill that's got to be paid comes through our office. We have an auditor in our office. We have a disbursement person, Carmi Scalise. Every single bill is audited. We find where the mistakes are and we correct them. Now, auditing is just a part of this because the state comes in and audits our books every once in a while. We have to hire an auditor every year to do our books. So we are audited, and audited. Does sometimes a bill slip through? Yeah, it does. Every once in a while it does. You know, we have 75,000 entries a year that we put on the books. But our crew down there at City Hall does a magnificent job. They've saved the city hundreds of thousands of dollars in just being the daily auditors. When it comes to other agencies, yes, the city controller does have other agencies that they look over in oversight. The controller is on some of those boards. Members of the Common Council are on some of those boards. It's a job we take very seriously. And I will tell you this, that the controller's office is one of the most misunderstood offices in city government. People think about the budget, okay? If the controller comes into people's minds when the budget comes out or when they go pay their taxes, there's so much more. Certiorari's. We got to keep track of all the vacant property, of all the properties we take over in back taxes. That's my job. I have to print all those delinquent properties and go after those taxpayers. And I have year after year after year. Sometimes I have to sell the liens to make money for the city of Utica. But we do so much more than just budgetary issues. Thank you, Steve.
This is the normal practice for an auditor, to look in the history of budget lines. To look in the
Misdirectional, that's why.
To look in the history of budget lines. That's a normal protocol. So they're looking for history. So if the history looks fine, of course the auditor's going to look and see if there's any variation in the history. But if you have 2-3 years, let's give you an example. This is what I caught last 7 years. Plow blades for our DPW. Okay. Well, the money's going through and everything else. I'm looking at different type of bills and stuff, and I noticed that they're $1,000 a piece. Well, I said, it's not my money because I buy them myself. I'm also a New York State insurance appraiser. I'm licensed for New York State, and I deal with millions of dollars every year to disperse for auto repairs, people's cars. Okay? So I said, geez, that's an awful lot for a plow blade, just a plow blade itself, just a cutting edge. So we're looking into history, and it was like that for the past 3 years. So an auditor would not catch this. Okay? But an appraiser and a guy who knows how much those blades are will. So that's the difference. When we can audit 1,000 lines in your audit, in your books, and your bills and everything else, But if they get same charge for the past 3 or 4 years, they'll never catch it. The only people that catch it will actually catch it are people that know how much that those items are worth. And that would be me, because I do this day in and day out. Thank you.
Excellent. So that question was relative to saving the city money. This question is relative to making the city money. So as the city comptroller, you are in charge of the debt and investment management. So how would you manage the issuance of bonds, monitoring city debt levels, and also investing in city portfolios to generate revenue for the city? Let's start with Mr. Meola.
Right now, the city's having a cash flow problem. So they generate revenues and out your cash out, your money right now. They need cash out. As you guys all probably know, the school board took our bank away. We used to collect school board money and we used to use that to pay our bills up. And at the end of the year, we made them whole again. Okay. As a matter of fact, if the school board, if they don't pay their taxes, if somebody doesn't pay their taxes, the city still has to make them whole. So we have to pay the delinquent taxes to make the school board whole. They never lose any money. Never lose any money, right? It's coming out of you twice. So the people who don't pay the taxes, the city has to make up for it with school tax, okay? So with that said, you want to find out how are you going to generate those revenues? We don't. There's nothing there yet. So we have to have these ways of generating revenues. And if you don't have the cash flow, which is the most important thing in anybody, in our homes, cash flow. Right? So if you don't know when you know when you're going to pay your bills. You know when you're going to pay all your expenses. And that is the most important thing about paying a cash flow. Knowing when the money's coming in, knowing what bills you're going to hold. So we all hold bills, okay, until we get the money in our accounts. It's the same thing with the city. Hold the bill, make sure you got your cash flow going, and make sure you're able to pay it in full. Now, all the bills that the city gets, even from the state or the federal government, right? If I'm fortunate enough to be your controller, I'm going to look into those bills. You know how they get to bill you for different things that they do? They get it from our information. So say our information was wrong. This is what I'm going to check. This is how I'm very thorough. So this is the stuff that I would. These are things that I would check. I would check whatever information they got. So if they're hitting you on a price that we have to pay, I'll make sure you owe it first before we pay. Thank you.
Are we talking about debt?
Yep, talking about debt oversight, generating revenue.
One of the most important duties that a city controller has is the management of debt, bonds, bans. That all comes under the controller's office. We go to the common council, mayor puts together a capital plan, go to the common council, they authorize the city controller to spend so much money to issue that debt. It is up to the city controller now to whether to go long-term, short-term, intermediate. That's the decision we make. Because we have to see what interest rates are there, and we have to have a crystal ball to see what interest rates are going to be 2 or 3 years down the road. So if I know interest rates are high right now, but are going to go down the road later, well, now I'm going to go out on a 1-year note, get to the short-term interest rates, and then go out on the ban. It's critical. There's also another secret weapon that I did for many years, and the former common council did away with it. $2, $3, $4, $5 million of vehicle purchases, I didn't go out on the bond market. It never showed up on our city debt because I made the decision to do what is called lease purchase. $5 million was taken off our debt calculations because I went with lease purchases. When I left the controller's office in 2019, because the debt was coming down because of my lease purchases and not going out on long-term bonds, they did away with the lease purchases. And now the debt service started to climb again. When I get back in the controller's office with your good graces, I'm going to bring back lease purchases so it does not show on our debt statements and saves us thousands upon thousands of dollars, because I don't have to go back to Wall Street to buy my paper. I don't have to bring in underwriters. I don't have to bring in bond counsel. I could do it all by myself, and I did it for years and saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Now, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Meola for your closing statement. Take about 1 to 2 minutes, and then Mike, you can have your closing statement right when it's finished.
Okay, last year we seen a tax increase. This year we see a tax increase, and next year a potential 5+ tax increase for next year. I just want to know how my, can you hear me? Better? Okay. I want to know how my money's spent. And if I'm fortunate enough to be your controller, that will be what you will know. You're going to know every dime in the city of Utica by just opening up your cell phone or making a call to the controller's office. For example, if you want to know how much DPW paid for salt, you're going to know it. If you're going to know how much the gas consumption is for the cruisers for the police department, you're going to know it. So every dime, what any year potential, if I'm sitting in for your controller, every dime you will see where it went. So say there's a $2 million increase. It may be going to 50 lines. We don't know, right? But you will see how it's being spent. That's the most important thing. When I'm investing in any business or any type of repairs or anything, there's always a breakdown of how your money's being spent. And I think you deserve to know, and you have the right to know, how your tax dollars are being spent. Thank you.
I'm going to make you one promise. If you elect me as your city controller once again, and I've said this at every meeting that I've been to, I've said it on the radio, and I mean it. When I put my left hand on that Bible and I raise that right hand, I'm no longer Republican. I'm no longer a Democrat. I'm no longer conservative. I'm Mr. Cerminaro. I sign every single paycheck, and I take that very seriously. And if you elect me, your name is on that paycheck too with me. And I will never disappoint you. That was my mantra. That's why I was asked to come back and serve the city as the controller again. Now you hear all this talk about open government. All you got to do is go on the city clerk's website, because I instituted under Bill Morehouse every month a city cash flow report. You are able to see where every penny goes right now. It's posted at every common council meeting, monthly meeting. Right, Mr. Beatrice? You get a report from the city controller's office every single month that you can access. You need any other questions? My door's always open. You see me in the supermarket, you see me at a Little League game, I'm always there. And if we have to start a Facebook page to further assist you, we will do that also. But one thing I will tell you, when Mike Cerminaro takes that job, he takes it very seriously. Never let you down before, and I never will let you down. Thank you very much for hosting this wonderful debate.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your time. Big round of applause for all the candidates.
We thank the staff and both for everything that they did tonight for all of us.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to stay and chat for a couple moments with any of the candidates that want to be generous with their time. Please get some refreshments in the back room. And again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or donations, right to the back table. Thank you so much.